Good morning. I am here today with Carlos Ramirez from Quark Expeditions. I'm Angela Hughes, and you are watching me in the Luxury Travel Social Media and Marketing for Travel Professionals group, where today we're going to teach you how to market more adventure expeditions today, and Carlos is our man for that. So, Carlos, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Absolutely. My name is Carlos Ramirez, and I'm the Business Development Manager for Quark Expeditions for the southern region of the United States. A little bit on my background. I've been in the cruising industry roughly 26 years, 20 with the Royal brands, and most recently I was at Norwegian Cruise Lines for about 5 years. And so my background is big boats and big companies, but about a year and a half ago, I got the opportunity to join this lovely company, Quark Expeditions, which is a relative unknown company in the industry. But after my presentation, I hope that you get to know us a little bit better because we have a lot of great things coming up here in 2021 that I wanted to talk to you about. And the purpose of the presentation today is just kind of go through why Quark, how to market, where to find those clients, and then some of the tools that will help you find those clients.
How do you feel like the financial future of Quark is, coming off of COVID?
That's an excellent question. And so Quark Expeditions is owned by Travelopia, which is one of the largest experiential companies in the world. Multiple experiential products under the Travelopia brand. And the best thing is that we are privately held. Our parent company on top of Travelopia is KKR, which is one of the top investment groups in the world. And so we certainly have seen our impact, with COVID impact our business. But we are one of those companies that after this period is over, we are looking to come out a little stronger than we were pre-COVID. And so from the financial standpoint, we've certainly, taken our hit, we made our adjustments. And the best part is that we have a new build in shipyard right now in Croatia that's being built, and she's actually going to be delivered early. So that tells you a lot about our financial stability and the future at Quark.
Right, right. How long have you been in the industry? Because you've been around.
20, it's going to be 27 years coming up here pretty soon.
Okay.
27 years.
And what made you jump over to Quark?
So, like everything in travel, the more you experience certain locations, certain parts of the world, and certain products, the more refined and the more unique you want to travel. And so my career has kind of followed that path of a traditional explorer. I've done all the 3, 4, 7 night cruises, and I've had the experiences with all major brands and luxury brands on this, working for celebrity at one point in time. And so the next big opportunity for me was expedition travel. Expedition travel is one of the fastest growing segments by just the sheer numbers of vessels.
Yeah.
If you look at the percentages, expedition travel is the future of travel for those clients that are looking for that next location, specifically the fact that we have smaller vessels, more remote locations. And so you look at social distancing and those types of things, we're set up perfect for that type of delivery.
How does someone convert? And since you spent years in the mass market industry, how does an agent convert somebody over into expedition and adventure selling? Like, what would be the key ingredient? Because in this,
I think
want to know, we want to get down to the nitty gritties of exactly how they can walk away from this discussion and feel more confident about, converting somebody over.
So the key ingredient is there's several key ingredients, and in the presentation I'll go through kind of our guest profile so you understand what our guest profile will look like. But I think the key ingredient is looking at those the clients in your database that have basically traveled everywhere, and they've basically have done pretty much not all their bucket list items, but have fulfilled a lot of those destinations that everybody wants to go to, whether it's, your Hawaii's, your Europe, or Fiji, or maybe going down to Galapagos, or if they've done their Africa safaris. Those are the types of clients that are now looking at our type of product because of the remoteness. because of the fact that, there's, you're going to the end of the world. I tell folks all the time, before you try out maybe deep sea exploration,
Mhm.
you fly to the moon and you do one of these SpaceX trips, you have to try one of the polar regions, which for the folks that want to go south,
Mhm.
Antarctica is normally the last continent that people are looking to hit as far as those continent chasers.
Mhm.
Antarctica is normally the last continent that everybody has on their bucket list. And I understand that other companies do these trips, but we physically get you on the continent versus, kind of sailing you by, which a lot of large companies will say, yeah, well, we do an Antarctica trip, but it's more of a drive-by versus an actual exploration trip on
Mhm.
the continent. And so that's really what Quark provides, is getting you deeper in these locations with the leaders in polar adventures. We've been around for 30 years, and just like you have experts that do destination weddings, we are the experts in the polar regions. We only do polar. So Arctic and Antarctic is all we do. We've had opportunities to grow and maybe go and maybe relocate our ships to the Galapagos or maybe try the Amazon. But honestly, we take a pause in our operations and we go back to operating in one of the polar regions in between seasons.
Now, you just recently returned from the Arctic Circle, or were you briefly?
Correct. So I will be showing you where I traveled last year. So last year I had the fortunate, and it was the last Arctic season because unfortunately due to the pause, we're not going to operate for almost a full year.
Yeah.
And it tells you a lot about our financial state. We've chosen to do the right thing for our guests and our travel partners
Mhm.
and pausing our season because there's so much uncertainty. But I had the fortunate, I had the fortune to travel last year on the first expedition of the season to Spitsbergen. And this background you see here is one of the landings we had where we landed and saw a pod of walruses. And it was pretty incredible seeing these walruses in their natural habitat,
Mhm.
literally 10 feet away from you. And so I will go through a little bit of what my experience looked like. And to be honest with you, I went completely open-minded. My last experience was on one of the Norwegian ships, one of the new Norwegian ships. I believe it was the Getaway was one of my last trips. And now when I got to Spitsbergen, I saw the vessel and I was like, wow, that's certainly a smaller vessel. But once I got on and I found, everything that's special about that product, once you sail out and you're literally the only ship out and about and there's, such a desolate area of the world, it was for me the most incredible experiences. And it's one of the trips, one of the highlights of my career. And it's a trip for me that keeps on giving. The more I look at my photos, the more I find unique things in my photos. And I took roughly 7,000 photos that I'm still going through. And whether it's videos or photos or just experiences that I shared, it's just this trip that keeps on giving. So hopefully I can bring that to light for you today.
Right. Okay. Let's see what you've got in this presentation.
Absolutely. So
Excited.
we'll go through lots of pictures here. Start with why travel with Quark Expeditions. So I talked about, we only do polar. We have the most experienced team in the polar regions. Most of our expedition staff members, those that lead every group out and about on your daily excursions, have the best experience in the industry. Most of them have at least 200 expeditions under their belt. And when you talk about experience, I think that's the magic formula for Quark Expeditions. Because we've been doing this so long, we can take you a little bit deeper and take more risk, calculated risks. And it's all
Right.
about risk and reward in these regions. And so because we've been here for so many years, we can go a little bit further than your average company. There's a lot of companies that are coming into this market now that
Right.
are coming from the big ship industry that have experience with, other parts of the world. We've had the experience only in the polar region, and that's really what makes us, special. We also offer more adventure options than any other company out there, and I'll talk about some of our adventure options, coming up here towards the end of our presentation as well. Certainly immerse you in nature, and that's what the goal is, to really get you in the heart of our nature, as well as we have some of the most innovative itineraries. The way we go about creating new itineraries is like true explorers. For example, we'll rent out a Russian captain with a sailboat. And we sent 3 of our expedition leaders last year out to the Russian high Arctic to Jan Mayen, as well as Novaya Zemlya and Zernaya Zemlya to explore the Russian high Arctic. We came back with all of this intel and all of this data, and we curated our itineraries that way. So you talk about innovative. We certainly have very innovative itineraries. All of our vessels are under 200 passengers, and that's what makes us special. The key for polar travel is that any ship that has under 200 passengers, you're going to have access to all of the landing spots in a certain season. So any company that has a ship that's over 200 passengers, what will happen is that you'll be limited to the number of landing spots. So the Arctic is managed by IACO, and then the Antarctic is managed by IATO. And it's an organization that most Arctic operators belong to these 2 organizations.
Okay.
We sit on the board of these organizations, and every year they'll set up a list of landing spots, and they'll say, okay, for this year, we're going to have 85 possible landing spots in Antarctica. In most cases, ships that are under 200 passengers will have access to all of those landing spots, which is key. We also are big on sustainability. So our sustainability strategies have been there for many, many years. Things that some companies are just starting to do, Quark has been doing for years. And I'll talk, a little bit about sustainability at the end of the presentation as well. Also, when it comes to health and safety, we are the leaders when it comes to health and safety. Impeccable safety record. We've been operating helicopters. We've been operating these itineraries that are going to some, really desolate areas. And so our safety record is very key. And so we will be able to, in this new world of travel, we'll be able to, deliver on the health and safety as well. And then certainly the educational portion. Every single person that you travel with, as far as our expedition leaders, has some type of background in their field, whether it's ornithologists, marine biologists, glaciologists, all these different scientists. Best part of Quark is that for every 7 guests, we have 1 expert with you throughout the voyage. So that's very key.
I feel like these types of expeditions bring so much more value to you as a person just because of the educational piece with it. I mean, I know the mass market lines are bringing more education into their programs, but I feel like if you really just want to dig deep and get more authentic about a destination, having all of these specialists on board is like just added bonus.
The educational value is it's key. We are starting to see multi-gen families, and that's another maybe source of clients that you can talk to about this type of voyage is the multi-generational families. You have multi-gen families that when they travel, you have the matriarch of the family that's purchasing the entire trip for everyone. And it could be, anywhere from 5 to 6 cabins, to give you an example. And then what happens is that they want to travel somewhere where the educational value when they come back as a family is there. We do that. We come back and provide this incredible value, because not only are expedition leaders there when you get on your Zodiac, they drive your Zodiac, but they dine with you. They're there at breakfast. They dine with you at lunch. They dine with you at dinner, and then after hours are around. So the educational value is almost 24/7. And so other companies will say, you know what, only our VIP guests will have access to dining with our experts. We make them accessible to anybody that's traveling with us. So it's very hands-on from the minute you wake up in the morning to that last cocktail or the last nightcap that you're having. It could be a night tea that you're having. They're around, providing, that incredible knowledge. So as you can see here, this is one of our stock photos, but you can see how how distant we are from other people. I mean, this is literally, we set up these perimeters, and you can basically walk around this giant perimeter where you'll have these flags set up, and it kind of tells you where you can walk to and where far you can go. And so look at this perimeter here. And so not only do we have a perimeter set up in Antarctica, and this is King George, this is South Georgia Island, where you're going to find incredible amount of emperor penguins here. King penguins in this particular case. These are the kings. But you're landing in an area where you can see roughly 500,000 penguins at your footsteps from you, and it's just there's no comparison
right
in the world that you can get this type of experience. So let's talk a little bit about both poles. So you have the Arctic and Antarctic. The average cost per expedition, if you're looking at the bell curve, top of the bell curve, you're looking at roughly 11,700 for an Antarctica expedition, and then around almost 11,000 for a Arctic expedition. But that's the average. On certain cases, it'll be a little bit on the higher side, and depending on the itinerary that you're looking at. And then in other cases, we do have a lot of itineraries that are on the lower side as far as the cost. It all depends on what your client's looking for. I think that we have a price point for all types of guests, but certainly if you are looking for a pool of guests, this is probably going to be more towards your, deluxe and maybe clients that are on the luxury side. Certainly it's a luxury product when it comes to the price points, but I think that the value that you're giving your clients is bar none comparing it to, to any other trip that would cost this much. And so we've certainly seen an increase in Antarctica travelers, roughly around, 17% within the last year of people trying to go to Antarctica. So certainly a huge increase. And certainly, and we're seeing an increase in people that are adventurers that are trying to, go a little bit further in their trips. And so recently we had a travel market report that said basically 61% of travel advisors reported an increase in sales into the polar destination. So certainly,
wait, how many of 61%?
61% of the travel advisors are seeing an increase in polar destinations inquiries.
Okay, so you guys that are listening to this, that is so key right there. 61% increase in sales. If you're not promoting this product or these destinations, and we just talked about this on the phone the other day. I mean, you have to sell a lot more of the lower price lines to total one Quark Expedition commission check. So look at this, you guys, 61% increase in sales. Don't just let that sit on your desk. Do something about that.
And if I can add a little bit to that as well, just think of all the research you have to do for a client, your typical client that may be looking for a 10-night Europe or European, trip.
Yeah.
Where you're going to be doing the same research for a polar type expedition, but I think that the profitability is going to be a lot higher selling these price points. And so the clients are out there. You just got to basically find that group of clients and just consistently market to that group of clients that fit some of these demographics that I'll be sharing with you in a minute here.
Okay, real quick, before you get off of that, because that is the question that I get every single day in this group, is how do they find that group of clients?
So it starts with your own databases. So if you've had a database of clients that have traveled to certain parts of the world, they've done their Alaskas and they've done their European travel, maybe they've gone to Africa, maybe they've done the Galapagos or gone through the Amazon. Those are clients right there that are ready for that next step. There are so many guests of ours that have already traveled multiple times on Africa safaris or have done some type of Africa experience. Those are kind of your traditional clients that will move over pretty easily or transition over to our type of product because there's so many similarities to these products. So on an African safari, you have your base camp. And then you have your Jeeps that take you out, or your Humvees, or your Land Rovers that will take you out, and that's kind of your means of transportation every day. Our base camp is the vessel that you're on, and then our Jeeps are the Zodiacs. So our Zodiacs are our means of transportation every day on a Quark expedition. So that's a pretty easy group to start marketing to. Other guests that are pretty easy to convert are those guests like, for example, I am working with some doctors now that they takes a gentleman's trip or a guy's trip out every year, and then my particular doctor is a sports doctor. Every year they take something cool. Last year they went to swim with the great whites and off of Cabos. And so now they're looking at a possible expedition trip. And because they're so active and we have so many levels of different activities on our vessel, that it's unique enough for that type of person to travel. Now, on the lady side, for example, on my trip to the Arctic, I had a group of ladies that were looking for a girls' trip. and they were looking to just get away from everything in the world, they actually chose, the Arctic because, again, polar bears was a key. They wanted to be completely disconnected from devices and everything in the world. And so they chose this ladies trip. And I was so impressed by the fact that, there's so many other places that they could have chosen. They chose the Arctic because they wanted something very pure. They wanted to, have that bonding, be completely disconnected from any device. We get this little newsletter that basically tells you the news, but otherwise we were completely disconnected. I didn't speak to my family for almost 6 days, which was, a little heart wrenching for my wife. But if people are looking to get away, this is the type of trip that you would put them on. And I'll talk a little more about clients coming up here. So again, getting you in the heart of nature. As soon as you get on our Zodiacs, you are being enriched by our expedition leaders. As you can see here, we'll pause and we'll talk to you. If we see something that's unique, we might take a quick detour and then go over and check out maybe some interesting ice, or we might see a pot of beluga whales.
Mm-hmm.
A quick, I guess, detour and then go out. And again, the vessels that we have, and I'll talk about the vessels, we cater to all types of clients, whether you have clients that are looking for more of like your traditional expedition vessels, to clients that are looking for the more luxurious, all suite, all balconies, to ships like the Ultramarine, which I'll show you, that has twin helicopters with all types of helicopter activities. As you can see here, look at this incredible ice.
Yeah, that's amazing.
All types of paddle excursions. So this is our paddle excursion, and then we have the paddle excursion, and we have the kayak excursions. Two level of excursions for those that have different levels of paddling experience. Stand up paddleboard is available as well. Of course, it's about nature and getting you this close. I'll show you how close I got, to the polar bear coming up here pretty soon. So talking about where to find the clients, we find different types of clients. And I notice here that, okay, here we go. So we have clients that are looking for the checklisters. And so those checklisting clients are the ones that are looking for seventh continent. They're looking maybe for Northern Lights and, the Greenland itineraries that we provide. If you've ever wanted to see Northern Lights, I saw them in Alaska, nothing like seeing them in Greenland. Incredible Northern Lights because of a lack of city lights, very little light pollution. Best place in the world to see Northern Lights. Again, I have clients that are stargazers that maybe are stargazing groups or have traveled to these destinations. That might be a group of clients that you might want to focus on. I, for example, just recently promoting a group that are into eclipse travel. So next year we're having a solar eclipse. So we booked a trip. We have 2 voyages that will focus on the solar eclipse next year. So again, there's all types of groups that focus on all types of travel. There's also the clients that are the escapists. I talked about this group of young ladies that traveled on my trip. They were looking to just completely disconnect and reconnect with themselves. So you talk about, reconnecting with yourself, being one with nature, breathing. For me, just the fact that I was breathing this just incredible air in the Arctic, sounds of different birds around, just being able to sit down and not have anybody near me and just reconnect with myself. And I came back so relaxed and so in tune with nature and obviously, conserving and being better to our environment, because the truth is that these destinations are being impacted by global warming. And so you come back more in tune with this type of, experience. You also have clients that are looking to learn new areas, new things. And so you have your learners, and they tend to be, more of a mature age. They value that connection. Excuse me. And then you'll have, of course, the adventurers. And so when people come to me and say, wow, I don't know about an expedition, don't let that word expedition be a challenge or a roadblock for you.
Right.
Because we are an expedition company, it doesn't mean that you can have a client that maybe has some mobility challenges. Now, I'll tell you this much. If you have a client that's wheelchair bound, there's going to be challenges with some of our vessels. Some of our vessels will help, we'll be able to maybe, take a wheelchair bound person, but really there has to be a level of mobility. So I tell my travel partners all the time, if your client can swing out of a bathtub, so sit on the ledge of your bathtub and swing your bathtub, you can get in and out of a Zodiac. And the best part is that 4 levels of activities once we make that our landing, and so we have all different levels for depending on how hard you want to go, so that everybody has a comfortable experience when they get off the vessel. So
Yeah,
let's talk about
there was just
yes.
a comment that came in from Lois Dodgestill. She said, just shared the 61% increase to Antarctica with a client, and she said to sign her up.
Well, we are ready for you. Me as a business development manager, I spend countless hours working one-on-one with you as my partner and your guests. And so I'm constantly, hosting conference calls, 30-minute conference calls with clients and their travel partner, just to discuss, okay, you have these 2 itineraries. Let's go in a little bit deeper. Let's answer any questions. So use me as much as you need me to try to help you, both A, market to those guests, and then B, if you need to use me as a closer, and I know that Angela understands baseball, and so there's always that closing pitcher. I can be that closer for you, since we're
Yeah, and actually, I like that
for you.
because most reps don't volunteer that up, but that is such a great selling point, you guys, to focus on. Is like, hey, if you're just not quite there with somebody, you could say to your client, hey, let me bring on the rep. He would love to talk to you about that. And yeah, he's going to close that for you. So you don't see that with every business development manager out there. So I would be using that tip to help grow your market share.
And even if it's just helping you understand the product a little bit further, reach out to me. I will be providing, I'll give you my cell phone and all my contact information after the call, and we can share that information. But at any given moment, we can always set up a one-on-one appointment and kind of talk through a little bit further on how to market.
Yeah.
Although I have a huge territory, I am not selling to everyone out there. I certainly dedicate quality time to my partners, and so even though I have 13 states under me, I'm really focused with partners within those states that can sell our product, and that's not every single partner out there. But certainly, if you think that you have the clientele, and even if you don't, let's have a conversation, and then we can go and help you, give you the tools and empower you to try to help you sell this product.
Yeah. So what Carlos is basically saying is he can help you. That's why they call him a business development manager. He's just not looking for new business. He can help you grow that. He can help you evaluate your list and narrow it down to the types of people and help you. I mean, they've got all types of resources that you guys can use to get the word out. And so use a business development manager for what they're there for, just not for the one-off presentation on a Tuesday night at 7, but actually use them for like their resources, for his knowledge to close a deal. Are you, and this is a question for all the viewers that'll be watching this now and the 1,000 that will watch after this, are you using them to your full potential? I think a lot of times we don't use a business development manager for everything that they're worth.
And that's the truth. And then I understand that sometimes there's challenges with business development managers, maybe being too busy, maybe
Yeah.
But I'm a person that I like dedicating my time, and if I'm dedicating my time to you to really help you grow, we're both growing together, and it's a partnership, and it's more about having the right partnerships in place. And certainly, for me, I value my partnerships. So use me as much as you like. I'll give you the tools, but if you need me, use me. I think ultimately, this type of product is sold by getting you in your client's face, and the more you get into your clients, you get this type of product in their face, and maybe host a client night, or eventually when we're all can get together again, host a get together to maybe a polar night. And so the more we can get in front of your clients and talk about these unique places, and share some of my stories, the better you're going to be at selling this product. Because certainly this is a type of product that you can't buy it off of a website. Honestly, you're not going to your clients. This is a consultative type of product. You're going to need to get in front of your client and really talk to them before they buy. You know, there are going to be some savvy clients. I might go on a website and just buy it outright, but really you're going to have to do the research for them. You're going to have the knowledge of the different itineraries.
And really, I think about it, like you're going to spend $20,000 to $25,000. You're not just going to go out to the website and feel confident about that. You're going to want to talk to an expert. Lois Stodgel, who's watching this live right now, she says, I haven't, but now I will start utilizing the BDMs more. So that's good. That's one thing that we want to teach you in this group. But okay, let's go on to this slide with the Arctic.
So Arctic, probably the most array of itineraries that we can have in one single region. So I'll kind of go through just kind of the highlights of the Arctic here. So we have the Canadian High Arctic, which is just above Canada. It's coming Arctic season. It's going to be a little bit easier to get to some of these itineraries and get your clients to this experience, because we're going to be starting our adventures from Toronto, and then from Toronto we'll fly you to Resolute, and then from there we'll start our itinerary. So have a Canadian High Arctic. For those clients that maybe have been to Iceland, we also use Iceland or Reykjavik as one of the starting points for our Greenland itinerary. So we do both Western, Southern, and Eastern Greenland. At times we do have itineraries that'll combine, you know, the 3 Arctic islands in Iceland, Greenland, and Spitsbergen, which Spitsbergen is part of the Svalbard archipelago, and that's right above here in the north. This is the Svalbard archipelago. And Spitsbergen is the largest island. You have more polar bears than people living on that specific island. So you're
listen, guys, real quick. I have a master's in geography and I'm an adjunct professor of geography. You need to know your geography to sell the Arctic. Most people, I look at this map and I think this is kind of a foreign affair, even for me, once you get above Iceland and, you know, Scandinavia. And I have a lot of experience in geography academically. And so look, you're going to have to memorize this map and you're going to need to know, and he can help teach you guys. Like I just learned right there about those polar bears being really prolific right there. So,
correct. So yeah, it all comes down to, you know, where your starting point is as far as where are we going to land and where we're going to transfer you to. And in most cases, we get you to that main hub, whether it's Toronto, it could be Reykjavik, it could be Norway, it could be Helsinki. Helsinki and Murmansk for the North Pole. But once we get you there, we at Quark will handle the rest for you, because we have what we call these transfer packages, and I'll show you what a transfer package will look like here in a minute. But we handle everything from there. So you as a trial partner, just get them to Norway. We can take it over from there and, you know, make you look really good, because certainly once you hand your clients over to Quark, once they get to their destination,
right,
that's where the magic happens. So Svalbard is that archipelago, and, you know, with the Spitsbergen, the discoveries in Spitsbergen, you get as high as roughly about 79 to 80 degrees north. So top of the world, the true geographical North Pole is 90 degrees north, and that's the itinerary you see here. And so we at Quark have 2 trips every year. We were the first company to take clients to the geographic North Pole. And so up to last year, we completed our 62nd trip to the North Pole, successful trip to the North Pole. We use a Russian nuclear power icebreaker to get to the very top of the world. We only have 100 guests that we offer this trip to every year, and every year it certainly sells out. And I tell you that, you know, it sells out to the tune of roughly $46,000 to $60,000 per person. That just tells you the profitability of selling this type of trip. I'm not saying that you're going to go out there, you're going to sell a boatload of these, but certainly there are clients out there that you will find that will take this type of trip. Or I mean, maybe think about going to the North Pole. And then just recently, we added some new trips to that Franz Josef Land, Novaya Zemlya, which is here, as well as Zervanaya Zemlya. So if you're into geography and you look at land discoveries in the recent, you know, let's say last 100 years, the known land discoveries were in this Russian high Arctic here, up on the top right of my page here. And so when you're looking at, you know, very desolate lands and lands that are, you know, very, very virgin, and not a lot of people travel to these regions, that Russian high Arctic might be an itinerary that your client might be interested in. So I'll give you an example. So I recently traveled to Spitsbergen, and so I started my adventure in Oslo. Oslo had a lot of great things to offer, whether it's the Viking Museum or the
Yep.
Antiques Museum. There was the Fram Museum. So a lot of, great places to visit in Oslo. Just beautiful city, great food, great museums, great artwork, just, incredible place to spend 2 days. So I spent 2 days in Oslo by my choice. And then you get to the airport in Oslo and you take this charter flight, which is a transfer package. You take a charter flight with only our guests on this SAS of Scandinavian Airlines flight. And here I am. I was at the back of the line with our fellow explorers. And this is where the excitement, it got really exciting because really this is where we start. These are the people you're going to spend, in my case, the next 9 days with. And, I had butterflies, I had excitement. I was a little chilly in this particular moment because it was a little bit cold outside, but it was just an exciting time. And so from Oslo, we fly you over to Longyearbyen. Longyearbyen was founded by an American that was looking into mining, and then Longyearbyen traditionally was a mining town. And so Longyearbyen is where you're going to fly to. There's only charter flights to get to Longyearbyen. So if your client is looking to get to Longyearbyen, it's not that easy to get there.
Right.
Most guests will take a charter flight there. And then what we normally do with this introductory trip to Longyearbyen is that we will explore northern Spitsbergen all the way up to the top, and then we'll come down and explore southern Spitsbergen here. But when you look at our itineraries, it'll say, okay, so you start day one in Longyearbyen, day 1 through day 7. We don't really have specific itineraries. So, you go to Europe and you're going to do the French Riviera, you're going to go to Nice, you're going to go to Cannes, and you're going to work your way up the coast. Here, it all depends on what nature gives us. And so basically it's all about the different areas and what we're looking for. In this particular case was about the wildlife. And so we were looking for polar bears in their natural habitat. And so that was our ultimate goal, is to find, the polar bears. So although it could say that, this is a 7-day itineraries, sometimes we do a total of, within a 7-day itinerary, of 15 to 16 different landings. So just imagine every day being in 2 places in one day. So normally your typical day at Quark is we make a morning landing or a zodiac exploration, or vice versa. In the afternoon, we might do a second landing or a zodiac exploration. And there are days that, if we see something really interesting, so we saw this fast moving ice, which is a flat ice that's in front of a glacier at the beginning of the season. We saw this incredible polar bear just sitting, hunting for seal. That evening, we decided, we're just going to stay out here and just observe this polar bear, go hunting. And then polar bear just gave us this incredible show of going in and out of these seal holes. And that evening, we decided, it was just an experience, incredible experience. Our backdrop for dinner was, this incredible glacier. We decided, we're going to pause here. We're going to have dinner with this beautiful backdrop on this glacier. So that just gives you the experience of what we will do on any given day.
Do you feel like the Antarctica is more popular than the Arctic? Because I feel like now I really want to do the Arctic versus the Antarctic after just listening to you.
So you're choosing A or B. The easiest sell for clients will be Antarctica.
Okay.
So Antarctica, wildlife just sits on your lap. Literally anywhere you go in Antarctica, you're going to have some incredible experience with wildlife, whether it's, orcas or whales or different marine, different types of penguins. They're going to be there on your lap. So the wildlife basically is everywhere. And so you're spoiled by the amount of wildlife. When you get to the Arctic, the scenery is a little more resolute. It's a little more, it's more, there's the thrill of finding the wildlife versus in Antarctica, it just sits on you. Here we are going out, everybody's using their binoculars, we're traveling through to our landing spots where we know we've seen this type, different wildlife in the past. And so we're looking for these spots that we've gone in, maybe in previous itineraries. And so we're on that kind of like that chase to find the wildlife in the Arctic. In Antarctica, it just sits on your lap. It's everywhere. And that's probably the biggest difference. But for me, one of the things that I found incredible is the fact that the captain on the Scandinavian air flight basically just hugged the coast, and as soon as we got to Spitsbergen, this is with this is with the scene. It's incredible, spectacular. It felt like we were landing in another planet.
Yeah.
One of my personal photos, so I will kind of point out some of the personal photos that I took. This is obviously a Quark photo, and this is the goal that we have some of the Spitsbergen trips. This is my personal photo, so you can see how close the polar bear was to us. And this is that day that I talked about. So at the beginning of the season, you're going to find a lot what they call the fast-moving ice. This is that flat ice in front of a glacier that at the beginning of the season, the polar bears are out hunting on this fast-moving ice. So the polar bears will be out on the ice. You're going to see them. They are marine mammals, so they tend to be more in the water than they are on land. But as you can see here at the beginning of the season, they tend to be on this ice. So the captain was able to just gently nudge the ship onto this ice. All of our ships are ice class, the strongest ice class available. He nudged the ship right on the ice, and I have the videos to show him breaking through slightly on the ice, paused the ship there, and then we just sat there, shut everything down, and then we were just observing this polar bear in its natural habitat, as you can see here. Pretty incredible.
Okay, that makes me so excited. Okay,
really
I have 5 more minutes, just as a heads up. So
I'm going to have to go through pretty quick here. But as you can see here, the wildlife, just some of the wildlife, some of the ice. This is another personal photo of mine that you can see here. And then, like I told you, although we went through and focused on all these different places that we thought we were going to land, on a 8-day itinerary, we actually hit 16 different landing spots, and this was the actual map that we provided everyone at the end of the voyage.
okay.
And the best part is that I got to do the polar plunge. And so one of the highlights is basically at 80 degrees north, they asked everyone, all right, who wants to go and take that polar plunge? I was I was part of the 40 people that jumped into the Arctic waters, out of 130 people that could have done it. And so again, that's the Arctic as a whole, the Northern Lights, some incredible glaciers, helicopter activities we will have as well on, the ultramarine. And then you were talking about Antarctica. Two basic ways to get down to the peninsula. You either have the trips that cross the Drake Passage via Ushuaia, and then you go across, and as you know, you have to cross the Drake Passage. The Drake Passage could be the Drake Lake or the Drake Shake.
Yeah.
Clients that are more, that are worried about motion sickness, we do have a fly cruise program that will fly you across the Drake, and then we'll get you on a chartered flight from Punta Arenas, Chile, down to King George Island, completely bypassing the Drake, and then we send the ship empty down to King George, and so we bypass the Drake, bypassing 36 hours of transit down, and then 36 hours coming back up. So we have both of those choices for your clients as well.
Yeah, that's what I need. Is that one?
These are actual photos here. This is my boss just came back from Antarctica, the last expedition of the year, and this was during krill season. This is one of these humpbacks that were coming in here and just gulping up the krill, as you can see here. Again, great ice, great opportunities for wildlife. Whether it's the albatross or the penguins. Great kayaking. We have both paddling and kayaking excursions that are available. Our fleet, great fleet of vessels. Ultramarine will have twin helicopters, 20 quick, rapidly deploying vessel, Zodiacs that will be available. The ship will include heli hiking, heli mountain biking, heli kayaking, alpine kayaking, and that's more of a luxury type vessel. We have World Explorer, which is this vessel here as well. And this is an all suite, all balcony vessel. And then these are the two other traditional vessels, Ocean Adventurer, Ocean Diamond, and then the ship that takes you up to the North Pole, which is 50 Years of Victory. And so, as you know, you talked about, Quark's financial stability. We are building a ship. This was our float out. She's currently being built. We're at the point in time right now that we're picking out colors and all that lovely stuff, the interior design. Very important. I will send a full link of everything we have available as far as you learning our product. Polo Pro is where you're going to find more educational pieces. You know, our Polar Pro program takes about an hour and a half in total for you to take it in different segments of the Polar Pro Academy. But once
Okay.
you become certified to sell our product, very easy to do, and you get a full certificate, another badge that you can add to your signature, meaning that you've gone through Polar, you know, Quark Expeditions Polar Pro program, which is our academy.
How do you compare really quick with like the other lines that are doing expeditions? It seems to me that everybody's like moving into the expedition thing, but I don't really feel like some of the lines that are moving in there are truly expedition.
So that's a great question. So we're constantly competing, believe it or not. We constantly competing with Silver Seas. Actually, Carl, who handles Silver Seas product, was a former Quark employee, and so there's another gentleman that handles, I believe his name is Mario, that handles Scenics product. Was a former Quark employee. So if you were to look at us on a case by case basis, and who were more comparable to us, probably Lindblad, National Geographic would be our feel. And so if you've seen the Lindblad product out there, we're very close to Lindblad. I think that Lindblad does an incredible job when it comes to our product. The only difference with everybody else is that everybody else, basically, they have their expedition vessels, and then the vessels move out and then go somewhere else. Where Quark is only focused on the polar regions. And so you might have Silver Seas that might have two of the same itineraries that you're looking for.
Mhm.
Quark might have 8 itineraries. So we might have an itinerary for you that fits your travel window, where other companies will kind of take their ships around. And if your clients were looking to travel in February down to Antarctica, you know, they might not be there anymore. It might be the case that they might be somewhere else. So we have the time and the itineraries able to move our ships around.
Okay. Um, Real final last thoughts for agents. What are your top selling tips for agents? What can they do if they're brand new, they haven't like explored this market? It seems like we've got lots of agents who want to switch into this
Let me
arena. Really just don't even know how to get started.
let me just grab a little my charger here so I don't cut you off. So very, very important. Free, take advantage of the free resources. Free. Right.
Mhm.
I know that there's a lot of you know, cost restraints with a lot of companies and marketing, and you know, people have paused on spend. Take advantage of your social media network. Take advantage of all the assets we have. We have award-winning videos that I can provide for you, in smaller segments that you can post on your social media thread. We can do Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, which I host all the time. Um, you know, we have some incredible photography. I failed to talk about, you know, one of our photographer, which is Acacia Johnson. She's, you know, one of the most influential women photography in the world. She can travel with any company in the world. She chooses to come to Quark. Our photography is that good. And the best part about a Quark trip is that we include that photography complimentary at the end of your voyage. We take all of the photography everybody shares, and we provide a link for you to download all that photography. So we have that photography available for you to post, and you know, put some really unique marketing campaigns. And it's not, again, it doesn't have to be a full blown marketing campaign where you're paying an internal company to do your marketing. It all starts with just being consistent. And maybe you want to focus on Polar Week and you want to post a different photo or a different video every day. We have those tools for you that are complimentary. And if you can't find them, I'd be glad to help you find what you're looking for at any given moment. So we really use me as a tool. So I think that's an easy way to you know, start to market to your clients and to your database, or even, you know, people that are within your group of friends. And so you know, just imagine if your friends are sharing, resharing your posts and things like that, it's going to get more people. I think also a good opportunity is just getting a group of clients together. I've hosted events as small as 5 couples to 600 women that were doing basically, we had a book signing with Maria Semple, and I presented to 600 women at this event. And so this was a women's group, and there was a group of ladies that they belonged to a wine club, and they decided, you know what, we've been looking for the ladies trip.
Mhm.
What a better, what an incredible trip to go out and, and travel together and, and bring our own wines or whatever the case is. But you have the database there. You just got to start having those conversations with your clients. Get through the roadblocks. It's too cold. It's too far. Really, right now,
I'm taking notes.
it's incredibly easy to get to these locations. Is it far off in the world? Yes, it is. But once you get to your final destination, nothing compares to being completely in a remote location in the world. I love it because I use my iPhone, and every time that I use some of my pictures that had the geo map on my phone, you click on the bottom of the photo, it shows you the physical map where that photo was taken. And just as a conversation piece, I'll share it and I'll like, so here, this is where we live in Miami. This is where I flew to. And talk about being completely remote. I got to 80 degrees north, about 10 degrees more, and I would have been at the top of the world. I mean, you talk about bragging rights. You talk about going to a unique place. There's really nothing that compares. When you're talking to your friends and say, "Hey, have you ever been to the Arctic?" And in most cases, people will say no. And so it's the accessibility is really easy. Um, you know, get through get through the expedition part of the word Quark Expeditions. Although it's an expedition, it's readily accessible to all types of clients, all age groups that we take, which was one of the questions that I get all the time. We take them as young as 8 years old or 80 something years old. On my voyage, youngest person was 12 years old, oldest person was 81. The 81,
How about single supplements really quick?
great for singles. So the ladies that I was telling you about all came as singles. And so we have single rooms for single clients. We have double rooms that we sell to single clients. And then in the past, we've had we've paused our sharing program. We used to have basically, if you had a lady with another lady that wanted to be paired up, and then we had a sharing program. But we've paused that program for now due to the everything that's going on with COVID.
Yeah.
But a lot, many of our vessels do have single rooms for single people.
And are they paying 200% or a single?
No. We charge basically what it would cost for a single person in a double room. So you split that cost. You're talking, 100% for what the cost of that room is having your room. So you're looking at maybe 120%, 125%. And in certain cases, if your client says, you know what, I want the largest suite by myself, then we'll sell it to them at 200% if they want that. The key is with our product, the last thing that you will talk about is price. If you're starting with the price point first, I think that you're starting the wrong way. I think the inspiration starts first, and then price points start last. You'd be surprised how many presentations I do without talking about price points whatsoever, because it's really about telling that story, providing your clients these incredible itineraries that it's hard to really replicate every single itinerary. Not every itinerary is the same, and so conversations will be deep about what your expectations are, the type of wildlife, the type of enrichment that you're going to get out of this trip. And at the end, once your client is inspired, in most cases, clients will be coming to you, okay, what does the trip look like and what are the price points? It's normally the very last thing you do. And in most cases, clients are asking about a specific itinerary. Then you have that fish on that line about to bite, and then you have to, obviously follow through. And then, and that's where the research for you as a partner comes in, where we start looking at different itineraries, different length of sailings, different activity levels, as far as what they want to do, their expectations. And, sometimes it could be just a bucket list item, but certainly price points is the last conversation we would have when you're talking to your clients.
So use that strategy, you guys, of building up the excitement and the inspiration first with all of the resources that they've got. And then at the very last minute, introduce surprise. Even not at the last minute, but the next conversation, even keep building up the excitement. And I think that you need to do this in any luxury product that you sell. You can't go right to a price point like you
That's
can
correct.
with Vivian or somebody else.
And you can, and just because, maybe a client is traditionally has maybe booked only 7-night cruises from you, and, maybe their average spend is 2,000 per cruise, and you look at a Quark Expedition like, wow, now I'm trying to sell them onto a $7,000 trip. But when you look at the value of what they're getting on a per day basis and the incredible enrichment, you would be surprised how many clients are willing to stretch their budget for a once in a lifetime experience. For me, I would rather save a little longer, and the selling window for those that you are going to start to maybe market this selling window normally is a little bit further out. You're talking at least a year to a year and a half out, which Quark right now, by the end of the year, we'll be selling into 22 and 23 by the end of the year. We already have Arctic 21, Antarctica 21, 22, Arctic 22, and we're getting ready to launch Antarctica 22, 23. So we have lots of product for clients to really think through the itineraries that they want, and normally, book way in advance. And then, for those that are maybe looking to, gradually pay for their trip, they're going to have, almost a year and a half, 2 years, and in certain cases, 2.5 years to pay that off. For some clients, they'll take advantage of our, pay in full promotion and pay in full right off the bat.
And really, if you think about it, it's maybe like 2 Mexico all-inclusives, if they're saving up for 2 years. I mean, people are spending $5,000 in Mexico on the same product they've gone on 1,000 times. So now do that twice.
Yeah. And, if your clients are spending that amount, think about those clients that love sailing and, on some of the larger vessels, and they want maybe the top suite, they're spending for a 7 or 8 night itinerary, roughly almost the same of what it costs them for one of our vessels that's all suite, all balconies. And so, some of the vessels that we have, the accommodations are luxury accommodations. So it's just a slight jump. And then I think that the biggest jump is in the type of experience that you're giving them. So slight jump in price, big jump in the experience. And that's where you take home.
Big jump.
Everybody is looking to really enrich themselves, and in parts of the world that, to be honest with you, these areas are constantly changing. And it's not fear marketing, but the truth is some of these areas are changing. The meltdown is happening in certain areas. In one of the areas where we landed, they showed us a black and white pictures of the last 50 years, and this glacier had receded 3 miles by like 10 stories. Just imagine how much meltdown happened within the last 50 years for that glacier to completely recede back. And so these are areas that we certainly want to get guests to and get their experience. But I think the biggest key is every client that comes back from this type of trip comes back a little more responsible. We want to make them polar ambassadors. They want to learn more about nature and conservation and everything else that we're about. Because at the end of the day, I think that the enrichment also happens on the nature side of being able to save our planet. And so I think it's very important as well for those that are into sustainability.
Okay, this has been like such a great discussion. We could go on for like another hour. But
absolutely.
I'm back. So I'm Angela Hughes, a luxury travel entrepreneur. I've been with Carlos Ramirez today from Quark. And if you just tuned in at the last minute, go back and rewatch this whole thing, because he's got lots of great marketing tips to help you grow your expedition market share. And we'll see you guys soon. Join me on my YouTube channel, Angela Hughes. I just put up the link today. This video will be there as well if you want to rewatch and share. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.